Being young in the 21st century is hard. Rent's half your paycheck, therapy costs the other half, and somehow you're still supposed to go to brunch. I'm your host, Alivia Brown, and this is Quarter Life Crisis. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Quarter Life Crisis. My name is Alivia, and I am your host. And today we have an incredibly exciting guest, someone who I think all of my true anthropology lovers are going to be so happy that we have here today. This is Scarleth. Scarleth, do you want to introduce yourself and tell some of our viewers a little bit about you and provide them some valuable context for some of the things we might be exploring in today's episode?
Sure, I'm really happy to be here with you, Olivia. Finally, we got to do this. My name is Scarleth Milenka. I am a digital anthropologist in AI or artificial intelligence. I am the founder, executive director, and chief data anthropologist for Orez Anthropological Research, which is an independent nonprofit C3 research organization founded with mission and vision to educate, explore, and advance research in the field of digital anthropology. I am also have a consulting company that deals with digital anthropology and bringing awareness to tech companies of why the importance of having a digital anthropologist on your team is important. And recently started creating content on digital anthropology again to again raise awareness of the importance of this field and kind of try to bring more easy content and understandable to people who's not aware of what is a digital anthropology field.
Absolutely. And digital anthropology, too, in my own experience, is one of these fields where we aren't hearing people talking about it very often, even as a student in school or as a professional when we're learning about anthropology. Digital anthropology is not one of the first things that we learn about, but we're living in this digital age. And if anything, I feel like it's becoming more important every single day. And so for anyone who's not familiar with anthropology and even more specifically, digital anthropology, would you mind just diving into digital anthropology as a field a little bit, telling people a little bit about what exactly that means? Because I think it sounds a little intimidating for people who aren't familiar with it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's kind of like a fancy title that, we're still trying to normalize it, but in reality, it's just basic anthropology, but the only difference that you are studying virtual spaces. But the technical definition is that explores the relationship between digital technologies and humanity, how we are adjusting to what's happening right now with AI kind of taking our jobs, or what it means to be human in a digital world. Um, so so basically, it's what you get to observe different virtual spaces. Or the definition that I put myself is like I study different virtual spaces, such as social media platforms, selling platforms, games, virtual games like Twitch and all those places. And basically, yeah, all that has to do with technology and how we are, evolving with it. It has to do a lot with cyborg as well.
That makes a lot of sense. And so, kind of getting into that a little bit, it's these digital spaces, and is it specifically how people are interacting in these digital spaces? Like the comment sections are how people are talking to each other within these games. Like, what even more specifically are you studying within these spaces?
Yeah, so you can have a variety of interest within the virtual spaces. For example, I specialize specifically in selling online selling platforms, and also understanding how human behavior within, for example, LinkedIn. What it's the emerging, or what it means to be a influencer in 2025. And how these online communities are formed. Why ourselves are seeking this kind of online trials. That's the term that we call in the research movement. And it's like, you're trying to find something that you like, and then you look into the virtual space, such as, and there's also like Reddit. Like, Reddit is another great space where people can get insights, or it's just like seeking a place where you belong, whatever your interest is, like makeup or cats or anything like that. So you try to look for a place where you can find that kind of, sense of belonging in a virtual space. So that's why, it depends on what's your, I guess it will be like the specific content that you're looking for, that you try to seek on. And yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I feel like when I originally started this channel, I had a huge passion for anthropology. That's why we're here. That's how we're here. And when I started this channel talking about these different educational topics, I went online looking for exactly what you said, like a digital space where people were talking about it very openly.
Mhm.
And there was not much there. So I was like, oh my gosh, how, like, if it, I can't be the first person having this issue, right? Of like looking for a lot of information about anthropology, looking for communities who are interested in anthropology. And so I started this channel and it kind of became its own virtual space on the internet where, I had videos being posted and there were people commenting on these videos. And then I was fortunate enough to get to talk to people about the field. I got to learn about the people who were interested in learning about anthropology. Like it just became this really unique space. And that's just my own experience with the field of anthropology. But like you said, these digital spaces are related to everything. I feel like that's one of the most unique things about it is you can get so specific these days. Like there is something for everybody online in digital anthropology. And this is a subject that I studied lightly in college. I think I took one digital anthropology course, but it wasn't like a huge part of what I focused on in school because I was more on the biological anthropology route. So I would love to hear what your path was like getting to anthropology broadly, but also more specifically digital anthropology. What was that path like for you?
Sure. Yeah. So my path is very unique and untraditional in a sense. Because I
Even
was in a
better.
different
We want to
field.
hear.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, it's amazing. But I know, since I was a little girl, I wanted to be a Egyptologist, anthropologist. I was always into this kind of field. But when you grow up, you kind of the various reasons they tell you, don't pursue this field. You're not gonna find a job. The classic. You need to do something to have a steady paycheck, 9 to 5, the white collar. Following with keeping up with the Joneses. So
Yes.
I was a non-traditional student. I started actually pursuing my bachelor's degree at the age of 25. So,
Mm.
I was a non-traditional student. So back fast forward to 2028, 2018, not 2020. When I was about to graduate, I was in the predicament if I wanted to continue, because I was in the legal field, if I wanted to continue this and go to law school or continue with this passion that I have for life, which is anthropology. Um,
Mm.
and the way I was a non-traditional student is because I was working full time and I was traveling full time and studying full time. And I couldn't,
Wow.
not stop working because my work was, thankfully paying my undergrad.
Oh,
And
okay.
so all the classes that I have were basically DIS, which is Direct and
Mm-hmm.
Independent Studies. For those who doesn't know, it's the greatest thing that ever happened to me because they gave me an
Oh.
early exposure to like in-depth research. That's why one of
Mm.
the reasons why I was a little more into advance of when I graduated. More prepared than the
Mm-hmm.
regular anthropologist, unfortunately. That's something that needs to be changed in the field. But going back to my
Mm-hmm.
path, I did so many of those classes, basically 80% of my undergrad, that I love it so much that I wanted to continue to do this, but getting paid with it. That's the whole point.
Yes, that's so important. And people aren't talking about that enough, like you
Yeah,
got to love what you do, but you also have to see the career path that you get from it. That's
correct.
huge. Sorry, keep going. I'm just like, yes.
So, Twitter at that time was big, and it's always been big for anthropologists because that's when you get the best insight. Well, now not anymore, really. So I was always into data science, technology, and I didn't know how to combine those two passions because I didn't know the whole fancy world digital anthropology even existed. So I started playing
Hmm.
around. And trying to come up with search things so you can find something that's kind of like see like where can I take this degree that I was getting. And
Hmm.
I come out with a bunch of tweets from UCLA, from a person called Daniel Miller, and I started doing more research and find out who was it. And I found out that he was a professor of UCLA, which is University of like in London, and he was the chief and creator of the program of digital anthropology. And I'm like, what is digital anthropology? This sounds fancy. I
Mm,
love it.
right.
I started doing more
Mm,
research and I saw that he published a book on digital anthropology and I started reading what it means, to be a digital anthropology and what's the program. And I was like, I don't know what I need to do, but I want to become a digital anthropologist. So
mm,
I
my
got his
gosh.
book and I started reading and I started kind of trying to understand what would I need to pursue these paths, like see my options to like if I
Hmm.
have if the United States has some sort of curriculum or program at a graduate level, like master's or PhD, or if not, what was the other options, which is international in UK, Australia, and Europe. So that's what I was kind of trying to figure out my way into it. At the same time, I started to do like early research because I wanted to continue with that tradition that I was doing DIS back in undergrad.
Mm,
And fast forward to 2019, I went to medical leave for a surgery, and I have a lot of time in my hands. Usually, that something that was unusual. And I saw a documentary on Netflix called The Great Hack, and
mm,
that really like blew my mind and opened my mind to
mm,
I didn't know that these kind of things even existed. A little resume of the documentary is how I guess the 2016 election was basically manipulated and what the tools that they use for. And again, when I usually recommend this film to people to watch it, is I usually tell them like take out your affiliation party away, if you're Republican,
mm,
independent, whatever, but just look at it with your eyes as a human, because
mhm.
it's very impactful. And, as human, it's very scary to see how data can be manipulated and being taken away, and your feelings are being manipulated. And also
Yes,
like as an anthropologist, this is fascinating. And
uh-huh,
that's what led me
absolutely.
into doing more research onto this field and what it really means
Mhm,
to specialize in OSINT or AI, data science, and how can I can combine all these skills that I was gaining and actually make it work. And
mhm,
so unfortunately, I wasn't able, pandemic hit. I decided that it was not feasible for me to pursue a PhD or master's degree because at the end of the day, that was not my ultimate goal. I wanted to
mm,
make it in this field as a just undergrad, finishing my undergrad.
mhm.
And I knew early on that it was going to be a challenge because unfortunately our field has a lot of evolving to do, a lot of
Yes.
what's it called restructuring when it comes to universities or curriculums. So that's a different topic.
Yeah.
Um, but I was like, I was aware that there was going to be a challenge, but I was like, listen, I don't
To
get
what
no.
extent, right? We don't
Yes.
know that until you do
Mhm.
it.
Yeah. So I was doing a lot of research again, Twitter, weighting my options and how can I, become a fully digital anthropology uh, research person. And I
Mhm,
was again diving into forums and I come out with this post. Somebody was asking the same question I was like, how can I become a researcher without not being in academics or having a PhD? And somebody suggested that, why don't you just form your own nonprofit research organization? And then that's where the way you can do your own research, independent research, and not have that stigma of like, just independent or have that said, oh, you're just undergrad. And
mm,
I started trying to find content again on digital anthropology. There was, groups, associations, or just basic courses or for
yeah,
learning. And I
mhm.
come out, with your channel. That's when I bump into channel. I was like, oh, this is great. I wish you had a more digital
More on
anthropology.
digital anthropology.
Yeah, was because you really explain well. You were given us
Thank
like
you.
documenting your path digitally, which is that's the definition of
Mhm,
being a digital anthropologist as well.
mm,
So making the story short, I founded Orez, which still is the first nonprofit research organization that is dedicated to digital
wow,
anthropology. Our mission and
mhm,
vision is basically educate not just our industry or scientists, but the general public of what it is digital
mhm,
anthropology, why it's important, and just
Mhm.
create like easy digestible content that makes you more understandable of what data anthropology is important. We
Mhm.
are doing, again, our mission is to get like as many as research possible so people can understand it, in create a blueprint for the next generation of digital anthropologists. And if we can create like a curriculum or certification or bring more awareness, that's
Mhm.
where we stand. That's what we want to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That is
So
amazing.
so to continue with the story is so that's when I continue doing research independently, and then continue to work with Orez, and get our name out there, and that's how I become a digital anthropologist. I mean, there's more steps in the road, but
Always.
that's like a little resume of how I become a digital anthropologist. And I think I'm work in progress even 7 years on in the path.
Yeah.
Even though you're considered a senior researcher or senior digital anthropologist, you never start learning, especially now in the age of AI and data science.
Mhm.
Technology is evolving every second, so it's not like you're that's this is it, you reach the top and you can like relax. No, it's a constant learning um journey, and also like trying
Yeah.
to educate the public on what really is to be a digital anthropologist, or
Mhm.
a general anthropologist in 2025. What the impact of really having an anthropologist on your team, and whatever product or line of business that you have is it's important. So
Mhm.
that's
And
where I am right now.
okay. And so that brings me to wondering, you're talking about how, it is so important that we educate the public on anthropology more broadly and digital anthropology more specifically.
Mhm.
What are your means to doing that? Like, how is it that you guys are educating the public? Because that is the big question. So, how are you kind of answering it and achieving it?
Right. So as independent individual myself, Scarlett,
Hmm.
I
Yes.
decided to create content. I keep saying recently, but technically it's been a year.
Mm,
On just basic like post on what is digital anthropology,
right.
what can you do with digital anthropology, the different research methods that we use, what a day in the
Hmm.
life of digital anthropologist is. And then I saw a lot of interest in a lot of people. And the reason why I started creating this content is because I can't find this kind of content that
Yes.
I myself as a researcher needs to know to be able to mimic it and continue the research. So if you can't find that information, you can't really you keep yourself up to date with what's new. You have to kind of
No.
dive into different words like tech work, AI, research methods, quantity, quality research, what's anthropology is doing. So I
Hmm.
was like, okay, there's got to be a place or someone who's talking about this. I just don't believe I'm the only person who's really like discovering America right now. like.
Right.
So I
Absolutely.
started creating content, educating the public, and also educating other anthropologists, because there's still the stigma in other anthropologists that like this is not real, like a
Mhm.
feasible pathway. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
it's like we, especially now with AI, is it's our time to shine, and kind of like telling everybody like you have to become a digital anthropologist one way or another, otherwise you're not going to have a job eventually. You
Right.
really have to educate yourself on what technology is happening, and what better way of like as anthropologists and learning what tribes, how they live in the field, that being that understanding like the virtual field, you know
Hmm.
instead of going in a like remote island. Now we can just sit at from home and start like learning and immersing ourselves in these cultures that we call virtual cultures, online
Right.
communities.
Hmm.
um and with others, we are creating content. We produce a podcast called "A Day in the Life of a Digital Anthropologist," which the purpose is to highlight what it means to be a digital anthropologist. Not
Mm.
everybody has the same path. Not everybody's working in the same field. So we just want to highlight everybody's journey and kind of
Mhm.
like again show to the public and everybody, not just in the field, not in the industry, just everybody what these journeys and the possibilities for somebody who's unaware about this field or interested and they don't know how to start, how your work day will look, because it's important for you to see what your day will look if you are in this field. Not everything is, uh,
No, the
honey and,
same.
Disney world. No.
Yeah.
So it's a project that we started. We also are putting a lot of resources. We are working on a course that's going to be, digital anthropology for 101. So you have like a depth and because there's nothing out there, like really, there's
Mm-mm.
nothing out there
No,
that can really educate or just like subsidy the curiosity of somebody who's trying to understand what is this really means, and the importance.
totally.
And then we're
Hmm.
creating content on why every single industry should hire a digital anthropologist right now. Like
Hmm.
we started with real estate, aviation, the White House, the government. So we go into every single industry and giving like even 12 points or 5 points of why it's so important for digital anthropologists to be hired right now in that specific field, so they can help us,
Right.
understanding human behavior at a different level, not that like UX, that there's more like marketing, so stuff like that. And I try to keep up to date, with kind of seeing what's in the field. I try to publish every week, at least twice a
Mm.
week.
Wow, that's
Scarlett's
impressive.
weekly digital anthropology insights, which I've
Mm.
kind of start reading some research from fellow anthropologists of other people in the different fields, and kind of give my intake on the most interesting part of the research, and give it my humble opinion from the digital anthropology side.
Right. And is that like in the form of like an email list or on a website? Where do you post or publish that?
For the content is basically my LinkedIn, and that's the
Oh, okay.
platform that I'm the most active.
Hmm.
Some fun fact, like I don't have any of the social media, and I research social
That's
media for a
great.
living. I
That's
just find
awesome.
it
I
really
love it.
toxic. But I mean, LinkedIn is kind of my thing right now. So I do publish everything there. Regarding orders, we do publish on the LinkedIn page, and also we're gonna be and we have on our website. That
Mm.
right now we're still working on finishing the last things, but we already published it. So everything that has to do with the anthropology is on the website, and also LinkedIn for now.
Yes.
Later on, we're gonna be having, newsletters and our YouTube channel. That's where we have like all of our podcast episodes. We're gonna be going into season 2 next week, so something's exciting
Ooh.
because I do have, well, I don't mind sharing, but one of our discs is gonna be actually Professor Daniel Miller. Um,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and then the other professor who's Tom Beloff, I can't pronounce his last name. They are like the founding fathers of digital anthropology, in my opinion, because those are the two
Wow.
pioneers who really got this field into the highlight and the spotlight, and they
Wow.
did a lot of good things. So I'm really excited that I got the chance to interview them and just ask them, what it means to be a digital anthropologist, what are their daily lives, what it means to be them for a day. That's what the whole point of this podcast was, like to understand or be, I mean, Alivia for a day, to walk in your
Hmm.
shoes. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was an exciting, exciting.
That is awesome. And for everyone listening, I'm going to make sure to link the podcast and the YouTube channel LinkedIn. So if you guys want access to any of this information or these resources, you're trying to figure out how to become a digital anthropologist, we're going to make sure that you guys can find all of Scarlett's links. One thing that I did want to touch on that I thought was really valuable that you mentioned earlier, very slightly, is how the road in the field of anthropology without a PhD is a difficult one. And this was something that I was grappling with in undergrad because for the whole time that I was an undergraduate student, my whole goal and my whole life's desire was to get a PhD in anthropology once I figured out what I wanted to study. But as I got further into my degree, I realized, how with a PhD, some of the options, it almost in some ways kind of limited what I wanted to do or the careers that I wanted because, if I didn't want to pursue research or academia, what was I going to do with this highly specialized degree? And I didn't want to pigeonhole myself. And I remember being really worried because another challenge with a PhD is, at least in the field of anthropology, if you get, you get your PhD and you get the opportunity to be a professor or a teacher, like you kind of have to go wherever the job is. That was a little bit of my journey with like my own, hesitance to getting a PhD. And it's something that you talked about in a completely different context, in a different way, that you decided that a PhD wasn't something that was aligned with you or wasn't something that you wanted to do. I would love to hear a little bit more about your thoughts about how, the degree of anthropology, how it becomes in some ways more challenging professionally to not have a PhD in it, and just like a little bit more on what that experience was like for you, because it does kind of feel like that's the road that you're supposed to take in a field like this. But you opted to do something different. And so I would just love to hear like your thoughts on that and what that was like for you.
Yeah, sure. I think I did mention that, I saw that the road was going to be challenging, but that was 2018. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
2025. That's a little
Yeah,
different.
true. So
After
true.
quarantine, COVID happens. I think my theory of like you don't need a PhD was proven. With you have different tools and roadways that you can still reach to the top of the mountain without doing a PhD degrees. But if this is your dream or something that you really want to do and you believe it, go for it. I'm not here to
Mm.
change your mind. I'm not here to convert you. I'm just here to share my story.
Yeah.
And I guess I would say like, if depends. If you want to be an academic, you want to be a professor, and you want to move around and try to find a job, and that's your ultimate goal, go for it.
Hmm.
Keep
Yeah.
doing. That's what I keep telling. When I do this, I do a lot of talks in universities, and majority of the people I talk to is PhDs.
Hmm.
It's like ironic
Yeah.
that I'm saying this. I'm not
You're like,
trying to
oh,
discourage anybody, but it's just sharing my journey. And it's like there are other
yeah.
ways to do it, because a PhD, you have to really think it through, because it's something that you really want to have to be committed and really love it, because you're
Hmm.
gonna spend a lot of money. You're probably gonna get yourself in debt, especially if you're in the US.
Hmm.
It's almost 10 years of your life that you're gonna be investing. So it's something that you really have to be sure with it,
Hmm.
and make sure that, that's your ultimate goal. For me, it was not feasible. I was never to begin my goal to get a PhD or be a professor. I
Yeah.
totally respect all the academic people, but I'm an applied anthropologist at heart. I just
Yeah.
don't. It's not my
Didn't want to
thing.
do the
Not my
research. You
cup
want
of
to
tea.
use it.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
not my cup of tea. And I totally respect everybody. Like, I
Of
love what they're doing,
course.
heads
Yeah.
down. But for me, you have to see what it works for you. For me, I'm an applied anthropologist. That's what I do.
Hmm.
That's always going to be doing. Eventually, if I have to evolve and adjust my career, that can be talk. But at the
Hmm.
moment, it's been working for me, be able to specialize myself as a digital anthropologist and be able to take different courses that get me where I want to be.
Hmm.
So, um, I think in 2025 there are others ways to become a digital anthropologist, like because
Hmm.
um, while you doing research in either a virtual space or the remote island, you know, it's 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 a little difficult. It's-
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, 100%. Yeah, I love what you just said about
and
all of that. It's so true.
then we don't have a curriculum for the PhD. I
No.
mean, you can tailor it with some universities, but
Hmm.
you will not graduate with a title of digital
Digital
anthropologist PhD
anthropologist.
if that's what your ultimate goal is. I
Hmm.
see a lot of people who studying like a master's degrees in online communities or virtual spaces. You tailor it, with your
Right.
professor or the school, but you do not.
Hmm.
And I think what I will love to see in the future. And I'm gonna be part of the change, because if you want to see a
Hmm.
change in the world, you have to be part of it. And that's one of the
Absolutely.
reasons why I found the others, because I want more people to get more trained. When you graduate with an undergrad, uh, you are not ready to land a job as an anthropologist,
Hmm.
unfortunately.
Hmm.
And that's a big problem, because at
Totally.
2025 we should be able to graduate and be able to function like fully anthropologists, either in a virtual
Agreed.
space or doing field work, ethnography, whatever you want to do, like right away. But it's
Yeah.
not. It's
No.
something that needs to be upgraded in schools. But the problem is that we're
Hmm.
still fighting, trying to convince people why anthropologists still even consider a degree, because people don't see that is, they don't see the value in it. And I'm
Mhm.
like, are you crazy?
You're
Don't
like,
you
"It's
see
so
what?
important."
Yeah. Yeah, and
No.
that's one of the things, why I'm starting sharing content is like to um not change their minds, but show them,
Mm,
the importance of us. Like they might not see value in studying a, village in the middle of the ocean, but
mhm.
they will see value of digital, anthropologists who are in virtual spaces, who dealing with AI
Yeah.
ethics. So that was what I'm in,
Yeah.
doing a lot of things, AI ethics, helping software, developers of software create a product that is more human, is more a human person, right? What it means to be
Mhm.
human, asking the
Mhm.
tough questions that, will make that product or that business or whatever they're developing uh more,
Better.
human friendly, because they do have
Yeah.
the knowledge to create all these excellent products and software, but they're not really asking or thinking about how is that affecting our lives? Why are we creating this? What's the end point of it? So questions that usually
Right.
an anthropologist would ask with like in-depth
Mhm.
stuff.
Mhm.
So that's it. But coming back to
Yeah.
the point of the PhD, yeah, I kind of did my research and I kind of knew what I was getting myself into. But now it's completely different. I feel like even some of the associations, organizations are more open to make it more easy for people who are just as an undergrad to land jobs and help them to be more prepared
Mhm.
for land a job or pursue whatever specialty you want to have after you
Yeah.
finish your undergrad or PhD, whatever it is that you want.
Absolutely. No, that makes perfect sense. Thank you for touching on that a little bit because I know that there are a lot of undergrads right now or people who are in this field who don't know like if that's the path that they want to pursue or if they don't, and hearing from people who both have gone down that path and who haven't. I feel like it's really valuable in making your decision. It was very helpful for me. The next thing that I so want to touch on is AI is like a huge buzzword right now, right? And I feel like AI and anthropology aren't two things that we really hear getting tossed around a lot together, when in reality, I feel like AI is one of the most anthropological things there is. It's like we are literally trying to recreate humans and the way that we speak and the way that we think and the way that we talk, obviously through different means, right? But that's kind of the output that these things have. And so I would love to hear about not only what you are observing with AI. I'm like imagining that your job and, the spaces that you're working in are changing rapidly, right? Like in the last few years as AI has surged in the last few years. But just also some of your thoughts and opinions on this like AI race that we're observing right now with like, your anthropological perspective, because that's something really refreshing that you bring to this topic.
Yeah, thank you. Well, for the AI situation, the only social media platform that I have, which is LinkedIn and YouTube, and when I
Yeah,
do my
yeah.
research and read it, I
The
can tell you
important
that,
ones.
yeah, the most important ones for me.
Yeah. Mhm.
I think that AI, it's something that it's being like people's acting like this is just exploded like from
Yeah.
nowhere, and no, that this AI situation that the software was taking over ChatGPT, Web3,
Mhm.
now with is the new part, which it was AI, and then it was ASI, which is artificial super intelligence, and then now
Oh,
it's AGA, which is artificial general intelligence, which means that AI really can function as a human, like can
wow.
do the same things that you're doing.
Yeah.
So with those, news and things that are helping going on in the software development, it's like, oh yeah. And did somebody ask an anthropologist about what they think? Like, have anybody did an audit on these softwares and really ask their human questions? Like, okay, why do we creating this? What's the point of it? Are we really trying to replace ourselves? Like, what is
Mhm.
the whole point of creating something that will feel? Because apparently, a AGI, I keep forgetting.
All
Artificial
good.
general intelligence says that will have feelings like a human.
Mhm.
You can train that thing to have feelings like you. So like, what's
Wow.
the, yeah. So, another question will be like, whose knowledge gets encoded? Like, whose intelligence gets
Mm.
valued? What culture logistic is built into the machine, and what's
Wow.
left out? How is
Mm.
this tech reinforcing power and privilege and
Yeah.
invisibility? So we're
Mhm.
seeing a gold rush of mentality: build faster, build bigger, smarter. But from the anthropology perspective, this rush risk repeating old colonial kind of logistics of the
Mm.
extraction of data, erasing the local context and control
Right.
over who gets to define what it means to be an intelligence. That's, the
Mm.
questions that we're still, trying to seek.
Yeah.
And when you do this kind of research of immersing yourself in a platform, um, it's your job, but at the same time, these things happen 24/7. So you're not
Yeah.
really constantly monitoring what's going on
No.
24/7. That would be impossible. I mean, unless I can train a bunch of, digital anthropologists, and, we can take tours. That will be
Mm.
feasible. But in reality, you can't, so you
Yeah.
have to work with what you have. And, unfortunately, things are evolving pretty quickly. So you, you only have
Yeah.
control of, a little bit.
That's so true. That's so true. Thank you for sharing that, because I don't know. I feel like when I was in school, we AI is obviously, people have talked about this for a long time. People have been working on this for a very long time. So as you said, it hasn't come out of nowhere, but I feel like, this interaction between these companies and the public is just everywhere right now. And so seeing people using it more practically, and how, there's all these updates all the time, and you have these big companies competing with each other, and it's literally like this AI race that's going on right now. It's just, it's unlike, in some ways it's like many things we've seen before, the dot-com boom and the list goes on, but I don't know, this feels different to me, and I'm sure you could talk about that for a very long time. But there are a few other things that I wanted to make sure that we got to, that I had time for. And so a big part of this podcast that I really want to get at is, there's a lot of people who are navigating life trying to figure out what the path is for them, right? Which kind of led me to the name of quarter life crisis. And so many of the people who are part of this channel and watch this channel are anthropologists, or they're anthropologically inclined. And so it's really important to me to like honor those people who listen to this podcast and bring on anthropologists to show them, the different roads, the different things that there are within this field, if this is something that they want to pursue. And so if there are people watching who are interested in digital anthropology specifically, could be anthropology more broadly, but let's say what's really sticking out to them is this digital space for studying humans and human interaction and all that kind of stuff. What would your advice be to them? What should they do? How should they seek out knowledge? And what are some good ways to kind of determine and self-reflect on if this is the right field for them? Because like you said, it's a long-term commitment to do something like this. And so I would just love to hear some of your thoughts on that. And I'm sure everyone listening would love to hear that too, because you're the one that knows.
Thank you. Um,
Hmm.
I will say that you don't have to like fully commit to something forever, because you can change
Hmm.
careers. I did on my when I was
Oh
about,
yeah.
2018, I was 28. So I was
Mm.
approaching my 30s, and I was like, I'm so done with the legal field. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
This is not what I
It's done.
expected. I'm
Yeah.
out. It's now
Yeah.
or never. I'm
I
not
love
gonna live
that.
in this forever. Yeah, no. But
Yeah.
for me, it was always, I always wanted to pursue these icky inside of me, that I was like, oh my God, I love anthropology so much, There's gotta
Yeah.
be a way I can make it function. For me, like, I'm the kind of person who does not accept a no for an answer, so I will get it done one way or another. Um,
Yeah.
that's one thing. But I will suggest that if you wanna become a digital anthropologist, you have to immerse yourself. Learn the
Mm.
basics, because this is not just learning, what I mean, understanding, oh, what's digital anthropology, just the fancy word. No, it's, you have to kind of dive into a different world and understand it from inside out.
Mm.
So like, what I would suggest is, like, if you're really interested in digital anthropology, to take basic courses on AI, data science,
Mm.
uh, there's like some sort of courses that Daniel Muir did, like why do we post, that has to do why people posting in social media. That is a little
Mhm.
from 2015, but still relatively. So just
Yeah.
kind of like play around, if you're not sure. I'm constantly posting content on what it really means, so I want to give the insight what it really means to, a day in the life.
Mhm.
Today I'm just gonna be writing field notes of what I observed in a Reddit conversation between a fight between Republicans and Democrats, for example, or
Mhm.
a thread conversation in LinkedIn about who is the best influencer. So, some of those things that you have to take in consideration. And
Mhm.
yeah, just like try to, um, if not intern, or just like do your own research,
Mhm.
play around it, basically play around like deep down in different areas. But if you're really sure that this is your path, then yeah, I would highly suggest you starting with basics of understanding AI, data science, machine learning, big data,
Mhm.
how social media works, algorithmics, what what's new right now is, like I mentioned, AGI or
Mm.
ACI or AI. So all those things you really have to understand. You basically have to learn the language of a software developer to
Yeah.
translate it into cultural meanings. So
Mm.
you're basically going into a different world. So you really.
It's so important. I think that makes a lot of sense. Another thing that I would love to hear about is, we're talking about everyone needs to get involved, and that's like the best way for people to figure out if this is something for them. And to be fair, I said the exact same thing when I was in school and throughout my channel, because I didn't know even within anthropology what I was interested in. I was like, do I like cultural anthropology? Do I like biological? Like, I had no idea. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with it either. And so I did work at a museum. I did research as a student at school. And that really kind of helped me figure out what I liked and what I didn't. I had to create a video project, like create a whole digital diary story of the research that I had done for 2 years. And like that video production part was my favorite by far. And I just like absolutely loved it. And now here I am, like working in digital education, which I think is so important. And kind of, testing out different things helped me figure out
Yep.
what I
Yep.
wanted to do. So I'm like, you're so right. I so agree. And again, kind of while we're on this subject, I would love to hear what you think. Like, you're saying we need more people doing this, there's so much value in it. What would you say is like the most important thing about this field? Like, why is it so important that we need, digital anthropologists in politics or in big business or in, small nonprofit organizations? Like, what do you think is the main reason or a few key reasons that it's so valuable no matter what field you're in?
Because we bring the human perspective.
Yeah.
We ask the questions that nobody really does, like
Mm.
when they're developing a product, developing a software, or they're creating laws. They just know the technical definition of what they're doing, but we come in and then is, can we trust this? Like, what does it
Mm.
mean for like when machines mimic care, or they're empathic with authority? Like, how do we become in a world where every interaction might be surveillance, privilege, or performed through like a synthetic lens? So, like I said, you're asking the big questions in the room.
Yeah.
We are the ones who are always kind of like the psychologists in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's
love
really
it.
some sensitive questions that sometimes people don't want to answer. And like I was saying, why are we doing this? Like, what's the point? Like, is how is that gonna affect us? If
Right.
we're gonna get something that is valuable for our society, or this is just a product to sell and make profit. Uh,
Yes.
and again, the main thing I'll say, because we bring the human perspective,
Hmm.
whether you're in politics, big business, or building AI, if you don't deeply understand people, you're building in blind.
Right.
Digital anthropology don't just study culture; we decode power, emotion, behavior, and the meaning in real time. That's what my big thing will say. Um, because and one of the examples I will say, like, technology is never neutral.
Hmm.
Every ecosystem, every algorithmic, every digital experience reflects someone's worldview, or what, how do
Mm,
you see life through your eyes. And if
right.
you have the digital anthropologist in the room, you likely skyline, you're gonna see kind of bias and missing the culture's nuance that, is supposed to be there.
Right. You lose so much detail, so much diversity if you're
Hmm.
like training these systems with all of the same sets of data from the same place. It makes perfect sense. One thing that you said in the previous chat that we had was about how we are living in an increasingly virtual world. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Like, I was like, that's such a beautiful way to say it. And I was wondering what you thought about how, humans spending more and more time online in these virtual spaces, how, just like what your thoughts are on how that impacts people and like our society moving into the future, because it's so different than anything humans have ever experienced, for the last, 500 years have been just exponential change for humans compared to the hundreds of thousands of years before that. So, yeah, I would just love to hear about what you think, spending so much time online does to us and how it's going to impact humanity in the future.
Yeah, yeah. And I was thinking about this question too, because I know we'll leave on
Mm-hmm.
that. I was like,
Yeah.
what it really means to be a human in 2025. Because
Right?
I will say, like, I still have like the mentality of 2021, 2022, that you will say, like, yeah, we spend like in real life or IRL, we spend like 40%,
Mm.
and then, real life is 60%.
Yeah.
But looking through now, June, almost July 2025, and so much had happened. And now that I'm really
Yeah.
immersed in like the LinkedIn world and Blue Sky, doing more immersed work with what AI is coming out every minute. Yeah, we are basically living in a virtual space. Like, we
Yeah.
are highly dependent on our devices.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes that takes away our human touch of like what
Yeah.
it means to be human. Or we
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was thinking. But then at the same time, I'd be like, I think we're redefining what it means to be human in 2025.
Right.
Because what we
Absolutely.
thought in our minds, that, or what by culture, society told us that, oh no, you can't be your phone, it's just for work. We've seen a different shift. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Now we are depending on our phones and technology, laptops more than ever.
Right.
Uh, I think the pandemic was a pivotal point in the world to show that you can actually live a fully virtual life. Like, you don't really
Mm-hmm.
have to go to the office to perform a job. You can order food from your bed and still binge watch all your favorite movies.
Mm-hmm.
You can do so much from the tip of your hands, but at the same time, that is taking away our sense of, or social skills in a way, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you notice this or you feel that way. I'm a millennial, so
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in between, like when social media thing was not big until I was 15, which was 2005. Yes, I'm that old.
Right.
So I think that, we're reshaping what it means to be
Mm-hmm.
human now. From now
Right.
on, it's gonna change. So what we
Yeah.
thought that it was, what we're supposed to do, what society was, it's completely different.
Mm.
And although I love this whole technology thing, I think we still have to keep up some set of humanity and, what it means to be a human in 2025
Mm.
and future.
Yeah.
And how do we interact with each other outside? When do we put like a crossing line of saying, like, okay, so we only supposed to, or we only should allow ourselves to use the phone for eight
This
hours
much
a
of the
day.
day.
Yeah, but we see like a shift in different generations. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I will sit on my living room and see my parents glued to their phones, something that in 4 years
Yeah.
ago that was not really happening. My parents would tell us, you need to get off your phone, you're too much.
Yeah.
But then you see that, even my
Mm-hmm.
cats are like glued to their iPads, which you
Oh my
wouldn't think that
gosh.
because there is cat TV. So
Oh yeah, there
so
is. It's a very real thing.
cat TV. will be glued, and it's creating some sort of like dependency because now they want to see those TV shows, and you're like, what?
Mhm.
What's going
Ah,
on? Or you
yeah,
see babies that are barely a year old, and they are already like glued to
they want their
um
phone.
the iPads or
The
phones, and
iPads, yeah.
although this is great for them to get the attention, at the same time, you get these questions like, so what exactly are we, where are we getting there? you know, how
Right.
how do we define, or how do we supposed to react or interact in this moment right now? Are we
Mhm.
supposed to just be glued to our phones or technology? Are we supposed to be socializing as humans? Are we supposed to, like, what are we supposed to be doing? So this is the question that
Right.
sometimes I randomly have, and I'm
Oh,
sure a lot of
yeah.
anthropologists are gonna be thinking about this, and it's like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a
It's
complex situation, but yeah, we are
yeah.
so glued to
It's the
the
big
masses.
question. No, yeah. I was going to say it's a big question. No one, will ever, I don't think, fully know the answer to that.
Mhm.
But I just love hearing, your opinion on all of that. But I do think that's just about what we have time for. The last thing that I will say is that since this is the quarter life crisis targeted at people who maybe, aren't sure what their path is, do you have anything else that you want to share just with listeners? Any piece of advice or anything about your own journey with digital anthropology that you haven't touched on yet? If you feel like you've hit all the bases, that's good too. I just always want to give people another, a final opportunity to share anything else if, you feel like anything valuable was left out for the people listening.
Yeah, sure. So for my younger generation, you guys are
Yeah.
gonna be. Completely understand. I was in your shoes 10 years ago. I'm gonna be 35 this
Hmm.
year. I'm so proud of it. I can't believe I reached this level.
Wow.
um,
Woo.
I know it goes fast, really
I
fast.
know, I know. It's
You
so,
know, so you
it's
start
hard.
at 19, and then 21, and then 25, and then 30, and you're like, what? What's going on? You need to stop.
How did this happen? Yeah.
I understand it's a lot because now you're on fully transition of you are fully adult. Now you can fully
Mm,
rent a car and you don't have to pay extra because
no,
your car insurance. Now you're fully adult,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
it can get overwhelming, especially what's going on in the world. It gets very overwhelming with the news, politics, whatever's going on, and
Hmm.
since you are transitioning from kind of like the not teenager, like a young adult to a fully adult, sometimes
Yeah.
that can get you, and I totally get it. I will just say, take it easy. Nothing is important.
I
Don't
love
take it
that.
seriously.
Yeah.
It's easy to say than just do it. I being there, and I'm still there. Like, it's not like it goes
Yeah.
away. You're gonna still have the same, quarter crisis or 29 crisis when you're about to turn 30. That's when
Mhm.
usually people change careers. I didn't
Yeah.
believe it at first, but it happened to me when I was 27. I was like,
I'm
I'm
out of
so bored of
here.
this. It was like, what is the point of life? I don't want to do this nine to life, like 9 to 5.
Right.
Why am I doing this? So you get all these, existential crises that I think as humans is normal. It's normal to
Totally
question
normal.
the things that we're doing or we're not doing, because at the end of the day, this is, in a way, this was implanted on our brains, on how we
Hmm.
got raised, how our culture depend on your customs, or how you see, your parents view life. That's what it get included in you, so that's what you're
Hmm.
supposed to follow. But then, and all these times, this is when your own beliefs and your own experience, your short experience on being adult, is when it comes out, like, wait, you start questioning things like, but wait, yeah, this is how it's supposed to go. I'm supposed to have a 9 to 5 job until I'm 70,
Right.
but this is not what I want. And
Mm-mm.
this is when your real self have to come and say, like, yeah, if, like me, I just walk out from working from the other government. Like, I have
Right.
reached this level of, whatever, working this great job, and I was like, yes, it's great, but I'm done.
Right.
I
I'm out
want
of
something
here.
different, and if I have to
Yeah.
start from zero, go for it. So I would say, if you're unsure about anthropology, just give it a chance.
Yeah.
Um, Again, I'm not here to convince you, just giving you my side of the story. And I'm still building. I'm not fully there. I'm not perfect. And
Hmm.
I'm kind of documenting my journey on the way. That's why I'm kind of like creating content, and building a movement, really, because this
Yeah.
is relatively new and old at the same time.
Hmm.
So what I'm trying to leave as legacy of me, it's that I was part of building something that is bigger than me. Then it's just not me.
Right.
it has to come from all of us, especially the new generation of anthropologists,
Right.
um
Absolutely.
our training, our mentality of our view of the world is completely different from other people, um
Yeah.
the ones who were leading the way, and it's our
Hmm.
turn to show and create a new blueprint for new future generations. So um
Yeah.
two things I will leave you is, as general person, if you're 25 younger, you still undecided, try it out, give it, test it
Hmm.
out. You never know. With technology, it's easy to see how your life will be, or if you really like that field. With There's a bunch of videos of day in the life of and TikTok,
Mm.
YouTube, so you can try and it out there and give it a chance. But the one thing I will tell you is, you need to learn AI. You need to master
Mm.
AI, because if you
Hmm.
don't master AI, you will be under a rock. You will not survive.
Right.
You will be
Yeah.
replaceable like a paper
Left
copy.
behind.
Yep.
Wow.
So you do
Wow.
need to learn and master AI. Those are gonna be
Okay.
the one gonna be rule the world. I don't care if you have billions or millions. If you know how to master AI and you have the mind and the training of an anthropologist, you will rule the world and you
Wow.
will survive. Be the one, the
Wow.
1%. This is what I keep preaching and saying, and only time will tell me. But this is
Yeah.
what I'm seeing. This is my insights that I can leave you with it, and
Wow.
if you want to follow me and learn a little more of what I do on a daily basis, I'm not
Definitely.
gatekeeping anything. I'm telling you like
No.
it is. I want everybody to be aware of what they're getting themselves into, and also the beauty of it, because you can be, like right now, we're having an awesome interview from the
Hmm.
corner of my room. But tomorrow I'm
Yes.
gonna be in New York City doing an interview with, a TV show or something like that. So, or the
Wow.
next day you can be doing immersive work or field work, what we
Yeah.
call virtual field
Uh-huh.
work from your pool, and at the same time you're monitoring a conversation on Reddit. And
So
so,
true.
it's what you make out of it. So I
Yeah.
will suggest, like, although a lot of older people who has huge careers and make a lot of money, they give great advice. I think you need to follow your instincts, what you
Mm.
really want to do.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, you're the only one who's going to be stuck in that position.
Hmm.
And if you don't like something, you're the only one who's
You're
going to
stuck
be.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can
Thank
change it at any time, but I mean, that's the only thing I will leave us, like, do what
Yeah.
it feels right for you.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's
Thank you so much. That was amazing. That was a wonderful last piece of advice. A few pieces of advice. That was fantastic. I'm like, oh, everyone that stayed till the end, they're the lucky ones. Well, Scarlett, thank you so much for coming on the show. To anyone listening, like I said at the beginning, I'm going to have all of Scarlett's information down below, whether you guys want LinkedIn, website, anything. I'm going to make sure that all those links are there. Also, feel free to comment anything down below if you have questions about digital anthropology, anthropology more broadly for Scarlett or myself. Just let us know. We'll both probably, for sure, me, I assume Scarlett too, will be monitoring the comment section down there so we can get back to you guys. And I think that's it from us. I'm going to end this recording, but thank you so much to everyone for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one.